Hello everyone, and welcome to our next video for our studio. Here we are going to see how we can create vector. So this is our first video on vectors, and in this we are going to see how we can create vectors and how we can use and assign them to different environments. So let's start. So as we have seen in our previous sessions, vectors are base objects of our most of the things that we do in our it is very important. Vectors are used almost everywhere, and it is really important that we know how to use them and how they work. So let us just start by creating one. So if you see, the first vector that we'll create is it will be a fictional vector, and that has cities population. So let us see. So it will be a numeric vector which we'll be creating. So it is really important that we know what kind of object or type our vectors has, because like it can have numbers, it can have, we can say, characters. So what kind of objects we are using, we are having in the vector is very important. So if you are assigning a vector with a text variable, all the other elements of that vector will be immediately, it will be a text actually. And if you assign a vector with only one element as a character or as a string, so you will like to call it as, we can say, all other elements that vector will be, it will be a string or a character. So let's create our first, and we'll see how we can create a vector with a function always as a C and the bracket actually. So it start with C and the bracket, so it will create a vector with element. And in this case, if you see, if we'll have like C and the bracket, so this is how we are going to create a vector. In this case, we are going to create with four elements. So for example, if our first element is, we'll say, let us make a 10,000 something or 20,000, and let us make the third element as 3,000 or 30,000, fourth element as maybe 6,000 or 60, let us make a 60,000 in this case. So in this case, now the vectors which we have created is, we have three elements in this vector mostly. So what we can say is that we have created the vector having three elements. So let's assign this vector to a new object called cities, I can say population, I can say in this case. So it will be like, if you have created this variable, so we'll just write like cities underscore population. And then as we do for assignment, we use equal to for all the cases. The similar way, we will be using this as well, or the other way to assign this variable. So it will be like either in this way we can assign it, or you can say we also have an icon like where we have this less than an hyphen sign in this case. So as you can see, we have created the vector and we have assigned the values also. We'll just run it over here, and you can see at the bottom this is working. So that means this is created. On the right hand side on the values, you can see cities population are showing like this is a number, that is num denotes number vector, which is created on the right hand side, and it is having 1:3. That means it has three items. You can say it's a single dimensional having these are the values. So that is pretty simple variable which we have created over here. Similarly, if you want to create another vector, another variable, so let us just try to make sure like there is also a command. Let us see, like if I have created this variable like cities and the population, and if I want to remove this variable, so there is a command known as rm in the bracket. You have to write cities population and we'll run it. We have that an option over here. I can see on the right hand side the environment is empty, the environment is deleted. So that is, it is, I can't find it over here. So this is the way how we can create it and how we can remove it again. So I can just select it over here and I can run it. There is a shortcut to run this command, control enter. You can just select this complete line you want to run, and you can just have this, you can say, you can just select this line and press control enter. You can see it is created on the right hand side. So this is a shortcut to run any command over here. So let us just try to see, let us just try to provide a comment. So we don't want to run this thing again. That is fine. So we have just commented this part, and we'll just try to see how we are going to create another one, another vector basically. In this case, what we'll do is we'll just try to create another vector with the variable name as char underscore cities underscore population. So make sure if you are writing, if you are providing the name of the variable, if you see I have written double P, so that means it will take that as a double P. So whenever you are referring, it will take it as double P. I'll remove it over here in this case. I'll run it. Again, I have created another variable char underscore cities underscore population. I have assigned the values. Let me see what values I can assign it to it. So let me assign the values as address starts with C, and the values will, for example, I will have 10,000, 20,000, 30,000. And the last value, what I'll do is I'll just try to have 40,000 in this way. So anywhere if you are putting a quotes, you can say single quotes over here. And if I am running this, you can say in this way, you see, I'll just adjust the size. So all the variables are created over here. So as you can see, these are the two variables which is created a different name, and this is scarcity's population. Now, as you can see, the by default we have not defined anywhere like what kind of vector we are going to create, but it is by default taking as a character, and these are the elements of the vector which is by default converted to character type actually in this case. So this is something the default conversion which is taking place. Similarly, if you want to perform some operations in this case, for example, if I want to sum the value, so I can use a sum, and again cache it is population, and I'll just try to run this command. I'll get an error, invalid type character of argument. Even I know the elements are numbers only, but it has by default converted this number vector to a character vector in this case. So this is what something like it is by default happened. So we need to make sure what kind of variable we are creating, what kind of values we are having in this vector. That's all for now. Thank you, everyone.